It sounds unfair. You know, it just sounds unfair.
That's State Ethics Act. I didn't write it. That's all I can tell you is what it says. That's...
That makes sense.
Any other comments? Yeah, Mark.
Mark Multagio. I'd like to start with Jim's comments and then finish up real briefly with my own. And that he says that we seem to have a breakdown in almost fulfillment of the purpose of what this whole entity is supposed to be accomplishing. We have reports of our own people that are representative in the township here, of people that can't afford their taxes, have to move multiple people into housing, property values are diminishing. We're spending money at an alarming pace in this township. We've addressed, as a group here, we've tried to come and address the spending of the money with regard to the sewage project. We've tried to address spending of money with regard to the ambulance building. And it seems like this was a democracy the last time I looked at what type of country we were in. And Jane, I was at the meeting where you stated that we elected you and you have the right to make these decisions now that you're in your elected office. I still think, and Jane, I'm talking for the whole board, I'm sorry I addressed you personally, that was right. But I think that there's still a responsibility for you guys to run this township representative of what the constituents of this township believe. You have active members of this township that come to these meetings now to voice our opinions. And when things happen, like what happened Tuesday, in the absence of knowing how infuriated the populace was that was represented here, and then this meeting gets called and nobody's there to voice our opinion or to see how it's handled, I think you can appreciate why the anger boils through the blood of the people here, and why it has the perception of being done in somewhat of an underhanded manner. I don't think there's anybody with a reasonable amount of conscience and common sense would see it any other way. So the question I have is that as representatives who have been elected to represent the issues and the beliefs of the people that are in this township and that pay taxes here, we see such stuff spiraling out of control. We're here to try to participate in the process of citizens of this township, and we feel like we're getting run over. And that's why we're here. And I don't know what can be done, like Jim says. I don't know if there's any easy answers, but I think that having an attitude, and this I will address to you, Jane, because I heard you say it. We elected you, you get to make the decisions. But I think those decisions don't get to be made independently of the views and the values and the beliefs of the people that are here. If there's a silent bunch of group of people out there that participated in the vote for you, and the vote starts getting, the vote starts to go in the direction of the people that take their time to come out and represent our viewpoints here, they have the opportunity to come out. If there is a silent majority out there that we don't know about, well, they certainly have a right to come here and participate as well. Your doors are open as far as I know to everybody. And they're not. So as an elected official, and as the constituents that you represent here, I think we're all just getting very, very frustrated by the fact that there's a tremendous amount of money being spent. There are alternatives that could be being evaluated that are not. There are decisions that are being made that we don't understand what criteria you're using to make these decisions from, and it's leaving all of us with a very, very bad taste in our mouth.
Thank you, Mark.
Here, here.
But I think we had a lot of discussion on the subjects that you're talking about already. We've had a lot of discussion on those. I think we've had about 5 or 6 meetings with the subject of the ambulance. Last meeting was the subject of the assistant police chief, which I think we thought everyone had expressed their opinions at that meeting, because there were a lot of opinions expressed at that meeting. So we heard a lot of that at the last meeting.
I'm not doubting that you're listening. I'm just saying what you're hearing and how you choose to act there seems to be a disconnect there.
Well, I think we're listening. We listen to
With respect to, if we use the ambulance building as an example, I mean, there's clearly a large percentage of people in this room that, again, I'll repeat what I said the last time I addressed this. We're not necessarily saying that we're making a mistake doing that. We'd like to know what other options are evaluated and what the true costs are across the board. And I've recommended that. It's been recommended by people before me. Here we are. It's 3 meetings later. As far as I know, we're still moving forward on buying the ambulance building. We have people, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've not looked at my tax bill personally, but from what I've heard, the latest tax bill shows an increase of somewhere around 20%. Is that accurate? 21% is the number I'm hearing?
21%.
21%.
Yeah, we have.
I don't know anybody in this room out here, and there may be some because I don't know them. I don't know anybody here that got a 21% pay increase this year.
Well, sir, we had that budget here. We had it open for everyone's inspection for 20 days, and You know how many people came? 2, and looked at that budget. We had 2 meetings, maybe 3 meetings on that budget. People were allowed to give any comments they wanted to at that time. Very few comments. I don't think there were any. So, I mean, we've already gone through that, we've adopted that budget, all 3 of us, not just me.
I know.
I know you.
We all address you, Jamie, because you seem to be the person who assigns the opinion of the board, so don't take it personally.
Well,
Certainly in my case, it's not meant that way.
I sound my opinion usually, but, and sometimes it's the opinion of the board.
Well, with regard to the ambulance building, somebody at the meeting, I don't remember who was here, said, you own 2 other pieces of property here. As soon as the sewers go through, we're not gonna need the area behind this building for septic anymore. We could possibly expand on these buildings. Yes, undoubtedly, cramping you guys for some space for another 1.5 to 2 years until the sewers come. It's an inconvenience. We are all being inconvenienced by this economic situation that we're facing right now. And all we're asking is that we look at the alternatives and evaluate them logically and financially responsibly, so that if we can start to save this township some money, we will move forward in that direction. I can't speak to why there was nobody here at the budget meeting. To tell you the truth, I didn't know how that process worked. I do now. I'll be at the next one. I can assure you that. Okay, but just because there was nobody here doesn't mean there aren't still opportunities and alternatives to what we've currently set forth. And I think we should reserve the right to at least re-examine those things. And if there is good, sound solutions, not just forge ahead, well, because there was nobody at a meeting, we decided at that meeting, or we had the comment session, nobody came forward, and now we're beyond that, so let's just move on.
The budget's been adopted, I can't do anything.
No, I understand that. I understand how that budget process works. But I'm still talking about some of the things that are facing the township that we still have viable options with moving forward. And the other thing that is, and this is a comment that I'm going to make, and I'm sure that everybody on the board understands this, but with respect to this very, very large sum of money that we're spending for sewer, and again, as a person who has commercial property on the stretch of ground that will be serviced by the sewer, I only serve to gain by it, okay? But even so, as a taxpayer in this township, we talk about the money coming to fund this thing, and it's coming from basically 2 sources. There are the users that are going to be hooking up to it, that are going to pay for a portion of it, and then there's government money that's coming in the form of grants and other venues that you're using to do it. Loans. The loans, obviously, we have to pay back, which is an automatic, immediate burden to the township, the citizens of the township.
No, township citizens will not be, they'll be the users.
The loans are going to be paid back strictly from the users. Okay, I take that back.
Yes.
Okay, so that's that portion of
It will
it. But
not
how about
be
the grant money?
The grant
We
money.
talk about the grant money as though it's coming from some nebulous fairy godfather out there. We all pay for that grant money. It comes from the government, and we're paying for it. And I don't understand why you're somewhat shaking your head at that comment, Jay, because I just hear that we're getting millions and millions while it's coming from grant money. That grant money came out of each and everybody's pocket in this room, as it does yours. And to address it like, well, that's kind of freebie stuff, ultimately we pay the fiddler.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
and we're all participating in that. So the only reason why I make that comment is it just seems that though when we discuss these things, there's a disconnect. Well, just because it's grant money, well, that's not really a burden to any of us. It still is just as much a burden as if you guys levy the tax on us as the township, because ultimately that's U.S. funds or statewide funds, and those funds come out of our pocket. And that disconnect, it's disturbing not just here in this room, it disturbs me with all the government actions that are going on right now. There is no fairy godfather out there or godmother out there, and the sooner we all realize that and become more fiscally responsible as a result of it, the better off we're all going to be.
Thank you for those comments,
Yeah,
Mark,
yeah.
but there is grant money out there, and we work hard to get that grant money for this township, so that our residents, don't have to pay any more taxes than they do now. And we work very hard to do that, and our engineers have worked hard to get these grants. We've had financial consultants work hard to get these grants. Those grants are out there. If we don't get them, somebody else will.
Well,
I'll tell you right
that's
now.
one way of looking at it, but if
Well-
they don't get used, then they can somehow end up reducing the overall budget of this country, then ultimately that's a good thing for all of us too.
Well-
So we can go around and around with that.
Well,
It's not free money. It's taxpayer money
Yeah,
that's putting the money into this grant, so that's my comment.
Jim?
In regards to the ambulance building, did we buy it? Has that happened
No.
at some meeting?
Not yet.
Is there a committee appointed to do any work on it, other than the 3 supervisors?
No, just us.
Okay, and,
Well, yeah, we're the committee. We work with the committee from the ambulance group, yeah.
right, but you haven't appointed a committee to do
No.
anything. That was the question. And another question I have is, in regards to this general manager you want to hire?
Township manager?
Yeah, I didn't understand when you were talking about that
Mhm.
part of your salary would go to pay towards this person.
That's right.
So that means you won't be working or you're not gonna be a supervisor. But then there'll be another supervisor. So what really are your job duties, each of the three of you? Because I'm confused why we have 3 full-time supervisors when the law says that you get paid $2,500 a year. So how, besides $2,500 a year, you end up becoming a full-time supervisor? Doesn't make sense to me.
You're appointed to a position.
Oh.
That's how, at our reorganization
And what's your,
meeting, we
what,
appoint.
can I just
Sure,
throw
I'm
one-
secretary treasurer, Harold is public works director and roadmaster, and Frank is assistant secretary treasurer. And we're appointed.
So the only time Frank works is when you're not here?
No,
Because if he's your
he works every
assistant-
day. He's here every day,
So that's just a title, that's all that is really. Correct?
Should be all good.
basically, they're all titles, yes.
Jane,
Alright.
I have a question. Going back to 6, the motion to appoint Michael Velarde. Okay, was that job put out to the public? Because you made a comment that people write into you. Was it a job that was
No,
advertised?
That particular one wasn't because we had letters on file for that particular job.
Okay, so my question is, you didn't put it out to the public, it wasn't put in the newspaper for public knowledge?
No, no.
Okay, how many people did you interview for this position?
Well, we interviewed Mr. Velarde for that.
Is that the only one?
Yes,
Okay, is that individual here tonight?
yes, yes.
No,
Okay.
He just
Oh, he left, I'm sorry, he was here, he just left.
standing
Okay.
next to Doug
Yeah.
Schmidt.
He was right
Not
back
for
there by
anything,
Bob.
but I think everybody in this room tonight
Mhm,
came for information.
mhm.
And you 3 supervisors should have had the responsibility, never mind the dignity and the courtesy, to introduce the new individual that is now being paid by our tax dollars.
He doesn't get paid,
To
right?
us people.
It's
He
volunteer.
does in a way, he does.
No, he doesn't, it's a
Okay.
volunteer position.
All right.
They're all, no one gets paid, serves on his neck.
Okay, do you think you had a responsibility to introduce the
I was
person
going
that
to,
you
Laura,
hired
I
tonight?
was going to, but he left, I didn't know that he left.
But at that time, when you made the motion, did you not think that it
He
would
was
be
gone.
appropriate to introduce?
He had that,
Okay, so he left, so that's
Yeah.
the,
But I
and
will
he was the
introduce
only
him.
individual that you interviewed.
I will introduce him at the next meeting, I guess.
You'll, excuse me?
I will introduce him at the next meeting.
Okay,
for you.
but
So
I
that you
do,
can
I
take a
do
very
wanna
nice
just
job.
verify, it
Right.
wasn't put in the newspaper,
No, it was,
and he was the only one that you interviewed.
yes, he had written a letter, yes.
So,
But there was, you know, when, well, whatever. Okay, any more comments? Don,
What was the total bills that's being paid?
total bills?
The total bill, $72,647.45.
And those bills, those include all checks that have been written since the last meeting?
That have been written since?
Yes.
We only write the ones that are
Yeah.
necessary to get out, like the PPNL or some like those that have time, or that we can get a discount on. We will send those, but they are on there, yes. They're all on there.
All the checks that were
It's
written?
not the sewer, no.
No, there are no sewer bills, just general fund,
Well, they're
or
Yes.
part,
I have a question about an old sewer bill that I just recently read that we wrote a check for. Did we write a check for $3.9 million to the Stroudsburg Sewer District to upgrade their sewer plant?
We write a check for it? No.
Did we take a loan for it? Are we making payments, $3.9 million on,
That will be our buy-in into that plant.
okay,
Yes, that's part of the formula for the buy-in. That's maybe where you saw it, there was a formula probably.
yeah.
It was 3.9